Hi, I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
And you're listening to Lady Parts TV, the podcast.
Whee!
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
2 weeks in a row. Check us out.
Yes, we're really on a roll.
Oh, no.
Slow roll.
No. But things are starting.
Oh, my
And things
God.
are getting exciting.
We have to bargain about what we're going to watch at night.
It's the beginning of the season.
Yeah, watching in the days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've gone back to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's exciting. And that's even before all the movies are starting to come out. But we do have some movies to talk about.
And network TV.
And everything is coming up roses. I have to tell you, though, we have very funny stats today because...
Oh, my God.
No, we actually... we didn't tally a few shows that have not come out yet. So we basically have 2 shows that we tallied.
Oh, we didn't tally the things that haven't been released?
No, because they... long story. We're not going to go into that. But anyway, so we've been watching ER... shows that have not come out yet. And amongst all those, we watched 2 episodes of 2 new shows. 2 were written by women and 0 were directed by women. So it's 100% written, 0% directed. I don't think you'll see that again in our stats. So that's exciting.
Probably not.
Okay, I'm going to start with a few announcements. We have lots to tell you about today, but I'm going to start with a few announcements. First of all, I'm sure it's on all of your minds. Saran Jones. Last Thursday, there was a special... So there's this new... it's not new, actually. The first season aired, I guess, last year. It's called I Am... It's a new series of movies.
In Britain.
And every episode, every movie is... I think it's an hour long, and it was written in partnership, in collaboration with the woman who stars in it. So, for example, in the first season, you could find an episode of Vicky McClure from Line of Duty. So there are 3 every season.
I can't wait.
And this last Thursday, Saran Jones's episode about anxiety aired. And
Victoria, right?
I Am Victoria. And we're dying to see it. We're going to actually probably watch it this weekend, and we promise we'll review it next week.
Why are we not going to watch it tonight? Oh, all right.
We have so much to watch. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. We're actually kind of addicted to a new show that we'll review for you next episode, next week. Anyway, we just wanted to alert you that I Am Victoria is out if you live in the UK. Look for it. And we'll talk about it next week. But this is my opportunity to shamelessly plug in my new podcast.
You should be excited and thrilled and proud.
Thank you. But also because, I feel that it's public service in a way. So hopefully, I'm hoping that it can help some people. Since we're talking about anxiety, my new podcast called Before the Dawn is all about mental health. It's about my own personal journey with all these issues of eating disorders and anxiety and self-harm and depression and chronic illness and ADHD and all sorts of...
mess.
What a mess I am, right? So I figured, why not make lemonade and try to help... bring some of these things to light and talk about things that mostly people are ashamed of,
and it's so many people deal with.
And as I talk about in my podcast, it's a spectrum. So, some of us have been more to the extreme edges of the spectrum, but, so many of those things have been experienced by almost all of us to some extent during some times in our lives. So I think a lot of people will be able to relate, and hopefully it will help, again, talk about things that not always are easy to talk about. And that talking about them can alleviate a lot of suffering. So that's my new podcast, Before the Dawn. I will add a direct link to it in the description of this podcast episode, and I hope you check it out. The first 4 episodes are already out. It's a bi-weekly podcast, and the next episode, all about body image, is coming out this Tuesday. Okay, the other really exciting thing is that the new season of The L Word is coming out.
I have mixed feelings about it. I'm really not all that excited.
I know, but I'm hoping that we'll be more excited as we watch it. It's, again, the L Word Generation Q, not the original L Word, although we do have our trio of fabulous Jennifer Beals, Alicia Haley, and Kate Menning. So this is a good opportunity for us to tell you, if you haven't seen yesterday, that we brought back our perks, and they're now on our website. So all you need to do is go to ladypartstv.com, and there's a tab that's called Perks, and if you click on it, you can browse through the perks.
It's pretty obvious. That's good.
I'm just going through the steps. If you browse through the perks and see something that you want, all you need to do is email us, ladypartstv@gmail.com, and let us know what perk you're interested in, and then we'll go ahead and you're basically ordering it that way. We'll enable a payment. And the reason that we brought them back now is because we are getting ready for both the new season of The L Word and the new and final season of Wentworth. If you're interested in any episodes of Talking Teal and L is for Lady Parts, dedicated to the L Word, then you'll have to purchase a perk. So we're not going to do any of those episodes unless they're purchased.
Too much work.
Well, in last season, we did the whole season
right.
For free, and it was great during the pandemic. It's still during the pandemic, but it's so much work that we have to do it through payment. So email us if you have any questions, requests, anything of any kind of anything. And that's the end of our announcements. And when
is our award show?
Oh, of course. Sorry, thank you. I was wondering when I was making these announcements, I thought there was something else I wanted to put on here. Yes, our Lady Parts TV Awards, the third, is going to be broadcast premiere live on YouTube August 22nd. That's a Sunday. At 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be there on the live chat at 1 p.m. to chat with you all as we reveal the winners, the big winners. We hope you join us. So put it on your calendars right now, August 22nd, Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us because it's a lot more fun when we do it together and experience it all together. Thank you for reminding me.
You're very welcome. Well, come on up.
So Louise wanted to tell you that she's totally obsessed with this new show that we forgot to tell you about last week, even though it's already in its, I think this Sunday is going to be its 5th episode.
Out of how many?
Out of 6.
Oh, no. I thought you were going to say out of 10.
No, we're going to run out of them soon, and then I don't think it's going to be, I think it's a limited series.
Well, at least we're going to find out who dies.
Okay, so let's tell them what it is, as long as you're already giving that away.
The show is The White Lotus.
Yes.
And it's on HBO Sundays at 9 p.m. Created by Mike White and starring Connie Britton.
Wait.
Connie Britton.
I just am so in love with this woman.
I like her very much, too.
So in love with this woman.
Murray Bartlett, Jennifer Coolidge, Alexandria Daddario, Jake Lacey, a lot of really
Brittany O'Grady
and Molly Shannon, who is
halfway
Mike figure in.
She comes in halfway and
might be very prominent.
I think she will be. I love her in this.
Yeah, she's fabulous. Really it's set in a tropical resort in Hawaii, in case you don't feel like looking it up.
And it was shot during COVID, right?
Yes, they used very strict COVID protocols. I don't know how. But they did.
Yeah, because it's a big cast. There's a lot of extras.
Very big, and it follows the exploits of a group of guests and staff at this incredible...
It's a very high-end resort, so anybody there is very much rich.
Yeah.
Except for people that were
the guests
taken along.
The rich,
right.
Yes. And it takes place in a week, although it does seem longer, of course, because... For us, it is longer, yes.
No, and it feels longer to some of these people who are...
Oh, my God.
When I watched this, I asked Mimi, I was like, why do people go on vacations with their families? It's almost always a nightmare.
Always a misery. And it reminds me of the Chekhov line. No, it's Tolstoy. All those Russians are the same. No, my people. All happy families are alike. Unhappy families are unhappy in their own way, and all of these people are
unhappy in their
miserable,
own way.
Right?
Yeah.
It's very odd.
It's so different.
It's very. There's always like something lurking right under the surface, even though it can be cheery and bright. It's not cheery and bright.
Well, and it brings up so many issues because, first of all, the most obvious one, classism, because there's the people who work at the resort and there are the people who come to the resort, and the relationships between them are very interesting. Secondly, a lot of it is generational, especially in Connie Britton's family.
God. The gap is like the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, it truly is.
Although Connie is pretty hip in her way.
She is, and she kind of bridges that gap. But the kids versus the adults, and
the plugged-in generation.
yeah, the plugged in, but also some other topics that we'll talk about with another show that we'll talk about in a minute.
Political correctness
And awareness, but to a bit extreme.
Extreme, of course, always.
And then to top it all off, as Mimi briefly mentioned, there's a mystery.
Yes, in the very first episode, very early on, you find out. You think you know who
but you might not.
died, but it might not be who you think it is. Although it bothered me so much every time I saw her.
I should say it's not really a mystery because nothing in the actual show talks about it, but we know that something is about to happen.
Yes, because
that these people don't know because this is that we go back.
We see the future.
We saw the future in the very first 5 minutes.
Right, as they were leaving.
Right. But then we go back to the beginning of the week, and it follows chronologically. But we already know what's going to happen in the end. So it's a mystery.
Except that we might not.
We might not.
Yeah.
We think we do, but we might not.
Exactly. I think that sort of tonally, everything you need to know about this show is set out in the opening credits.
Right.
With this very tropical wallpaper that comes alive in various ways and is very sort of
it comes alive, but then it dies.
And creepy, and then it dies. Everything is rotting.
It's like what it shows, I think, is that everything that looks pretty when you zoom in, it all is falling apart. It's all rotting. It's all dying.
And the music is very, very.
It's at the same time tropical,
ominous yet tropical,
and weird. Just weird. Everything about. But you know what? I love that this show is heightened. Everything is saturated. Everything is. It's
very funny too.
Yes, it's very funny.
Very, very funny. Connie is magnificent. I think,
love her.
To tell you the truth, my favorite person in the show, though, is Murray Bartlett, who is absolutely fantastic. Guiding Light fans will remember him, and as will many people from many things. He's an Australian actor, and he's just...
And Jennifer Coolidge.
Oh, Jennifer Coolidge, my next favorite character. Oh my God!
No, this is truly something very, very specifically its own thing, and I'm kind of obsessed with it. Yep. It takes you into this atmosphere.
It seeps like the humidity in these places into your bones.
But they're all well-meaning, so that makes it not threatening.
Most of them are well-meaning.
Yes,
there aren't any villains. Really,
they just all are. They have their own kind of scratches in their brain,
and their scratches start to meld.
Anyway, we love it. In case you haven't figured it out by now, it's called The White Lotus. It's already about to be over, so you can binge.
And you will binge
on HBO, or of course on HBO Max as well. We highly recommend it.
Yes, we do. Oh, me again. All right, a new series on Netflix. Premiered August 6th, and you're going to want to
just clear your whole day.
It's called Hit and Run. It's from the creators of Fauda, Lior Raz and Avi
Asakharov.
Thank you. And The Killing, Nicole Yorkin and Dawn Prestwich. Much easier to say.
Yes, who are also the showrunners. From what I heard, by the way, Fauda was so successful that Netflix contracted Lior Raz, who is the creator of Fauda, to make a show just for them. So this is really proud.
It's a very good show. It will seem a little familiar in some ways, but it's still its own thing.
Yes, and even when you think, oh, well, this is obvious and this is predictable. No, it's not.
No, it's
You'll
not.
find out that it's not.
There are so many twists and turns.
It's just fun. It's a fun
really
ride.
fun, and it is a little violent.
Very much violent.
It's quite violent.
But it's also full of heart and humor and intrigue.
I love Lior Raz. I mean, what a creative guy he is.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful actor in addition to being
and I think he started late in life.
Yep. And Sana Lathan is in it.
Who is so charming.
She's
and
just
so
adorable.
wonderful.
I've always loved her. My favorite movie of hers is Alien versus Predator.
Okay.
That's a very good movie.
A couple other people that one of them you probably will not know, Moran Rosenblatt. She plays a detective on this show. Yes, and she is fabulous. She's a kick-ass, and you know what?
I love her. And she's pregnant.
And she's pregnant, and I have to mention this because I don't know if she's really pregnant in real life, but it reminds me of Olivia Colman when she did The Night Manager, and she was supposed to be this kick-ass detective,
But
and
she got
was
pregnant.
But she was pregnant, and the director, a woman director, said, no, we're going to keep you in, even, whatever 9 months pregnant you are, very obviously pregnant. And
it added so much.
As I think it did here.
Yes,
I don't know if she was pregnant and they decided to cast her anyway, or if they intentionally wanted her character to be pregnant, but it worked great.
Yeah,
because
anyway, she's divine.
I just loved this idea of showing women, in this condition that usually people think, they're so weak
we don't even
and
want to hire them. What if they
vulnerable,
get pregnant?
being kick-ass and showing everybody that they can do everything. And Mimi's beloved...
My beloved Lior Ashkenazi, who is fabulous and gorgeous. Some of you might remember him from a very well-received Israeli movie called Walk on Water. Also, Greg Henry is in this. Many of you will know.
So
him.
Obviously, it's a combined cast,
Yeah.
Israeli and American, because it takes place both in Israel and in New York.
Two of our favorite places.
Yeah.
Two of our favorite homes.
Yes, we were watching this. Oh, this is this street. Oh, this is that street. Oh,
yeah, it was really, really fun. It's an action thriller, as I may have said, and there's just not much we can really tell you about it.
No, because everything we would tell you would be a spoiler, probably. And even if we're allowed to tell you, we don't want to ruin it for you.
No, we don't want to ruin it for you. Just watch it.
Let's just tell him this. Lior Raz is an Israeli man whose wife all of a sudden gets killed in a hit and run in Tel Aviv. And
She's an American.
She's an American living with him in Israel. She's a dancer. And he just feels... He has to find who killed her.
Of course.
Hit and run. They disappeared. He has to find who killed her. And he goes on this adventure or journey to find her killers.
Very violent.
And then you find out a whole bunch of things
about a whole lot of people.
Nothing is as it seems.
Yeah, which is often the case. And if things were what they seemed, they'd be
It would
pretty
be boring.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is not boring.
No. We have the last one left to watch, which we'll watch today. But otherwise, we
might watch it as soon as we
might just
through talking to you. So anyway, Hit and Run,
on
Netflix,
all of them.
Watch it.
Okay, our next show is kind of an oddity. It's called The Chair. It's premiering on Netflix August 20th.
And it doesn't star Clint Eastwood.
That would be a satire.
A bad satire.
Bad satire. It's actually written, the writer, showrunner, and executive producer is Amanda Peet.
Bravo, Amanda.
Yes, and it's starring Sandra Oh, Jay Duplass, Holland Taylor, Bob Balaban, Nana Mensa, and David Morse. And the reason I say it's an oddity is because it's just odd. Okay, so the chair is because Sandra Oh becomes the chair of the English department at the very prestigious university.
Probably East Coast.
Yes, very much, possibly East Coast. She's the first woman to chair the department, and she is, of course, one of the few staff members who is a woman of color. And it's just a half-hour show, so I'm assuming it's supposed to be a comedy.
It has many comedic elements, yes.
Yes, even though I don't find it particularly funny.
I enjoy it.
I don't. Okay, we'll get to that. It's only 6 episodes, which is odd for a comedy. So it's 6 episodes of half-hour episodes. And it's basically all about academia and
the politics.
The politics of academia.
But both, now the politics of the students, of the rampant political correctness.
Right, so this is why we said earlier when we talked about the White Lotus that it kind of connects with another show that we're talking about.
With the young people. Right,
so... because it's both the academic, the faculty staff,
and the politics,
and the office politics, but specifically for academia,
but academias are even more twisted.
Which I'm sure a lot of
Byzantine.
I'm sure that a lot of our listeners know, because we have, I think, quite a few people in academia here. It's a very unique kind
world.
of yes.
Yes.
And the students. Now, I think that what they're trying to go for, after the first two episodes, I barely got myself to watch the third. I'm happy that we did, because the third presented a more relevant story. Because what was missing in the first two for me is a story. It was very, very thin. The third presented a more relatable story and a more interesting story to me, because I think that academia is a place where you can really see a lot of what was going on online in a very kind of intense and condensed way. So just very briefly to mention, when I was working on my new podcast, I researched trigger warnings.
Trigger is one of my least favorite words.
Well,
and
trigger warnings are important because it comes from the world of PTSD. It's meant to make sure that people who suffer from PTSD and who might, triggers can throw them back into flashbacks, into anxiety, into a very, very unpleasant and possibly dangerous sometimes situation.
As with everything now, they have been taken to absurd extremes, trigger warnings.
So what I read when I was researching trigger warnings, because I wanted to make sure that my podcast had, was accessible to everybody and was done in a responsible way. Because for me, sometimes trigger warnings are, for example, when you put a trigger warning on something that has to do with eating disorder, it's not even about necessarily triggering you to feel bad. It's about triggering you. Maybe you're not well enough to listen to this. Maybe this will throw you back into a loop of eating disorder behaviors. So it's important. In many ways, it's important. But when I was researching it, I stumbled across several very interesting articles about faculty members in academia who don't know what to do because they're starting to tell them to put trigger warnings on their syllabus. And that students are allowed to say, no, I don't want to read this, or I don't want to study this because it triggers me. And it puts professors in a very tough spot. And also it's kind of a bigger question of, don't we think that it's important to talk about these things? Are we supposed to encourage people to avoid? Because ultimately, triggers are not meant to be. Avoidance is a problem. You're supposed to only do it while you're working towards recovery,
while the wounds are fresh,
and then exposing yourself. The whole point of triggers is to, at some point, expose yourself so that you can start getting more control over your response to them. They're not just meant to, I can't deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. I'm too delicate for this, or this is something that I don't like.
It's also the worst thing that ever happened to humor and
art.
And art and satire and irony and
free speech. So it's, again, they're important in the right context, in the right amount. And this show brings it up, and this was very interesting in the third episode, and I'm interested to see where it's going.
The other thing I loved about the third episode, there's a little girl who plays Sandra Oh's daughter, Everly Carganilla, I believe, and she has a lot to do in this episode, and she is just wonderful. I'm sure she will be on our Best Young Actor.
For next year.
Next year in our award. She's just delightful, and she brings up a lot of fun things. Anyway, the third episode, try to get to it, because I think it's going to be a game changer for the next,
3 episodes.
The next 2 after the third.
3.
Yeah. Oh, 3.
Yes. So The Chair will premiere on Netflix August 20th. Check it out. Finally, a movie that was quite a surprise for us.
Oh, yes.
It's called Escape from Mogadishu. Now, it's premiered in theaters Friday, August 6th. I really, really, really hope they're going to make it available very soon online, too, because, come on, people.
I don't think people would be running to the theaters to see this movie
anyway,
in the best of times.
Especially not, and they shouldn't during a pandemic.
No.
Directed by Sung Won Ryu, and I probably butchered that name, which is why I'm not going to tell you the names of the stars, because I'm probably going to mispronounce them.
It doesn't
and
matter
many
to
of you will probably not know them. All we can say about the actors is that every single one of them was excellent. And this is based on a true story. There was a civil war raging in Mugadishu, and
which is Somalia.
Right, in Somalia and Africa. And the North Korean and South Korean embassies, everybody was in danger. And these two could not even get in touch with their countries to try to rescue
Their
them.
communications were all down.
Right. And so their only way of possibly surviving this very extreme situation was to work together. And they are, I don't think I need to tell you, enemies. It was just so good, beyond my wildest
Absolutely.
expectations.
The human stories. I mean, it's very violent.
Yes,
it's a civil
there is
war.
violence.
You know, people are shot right and left. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But the human stories are so wonderful.
Especially knowing that it's based on an actual true
Oh,
story.
it's so moving. And parts of it are funny. In the beginning, you think, is this going to be a comedy?
Yeah.
No.
No, and actually, let's talk about the beginning. Don't be discouraged. We started watching it in the first 10 minutes. First of all, were hard to watch because the subtitles were very hard to read.
Yes, they were white, and there was a lot of blinding sun. A lot of it took place out of doors in Africa.
In this sweltering heat, and it was very bright. But the movie actually moves on to, a lot of it takes place at night, a lot of it takes place indoors, and actually that makes the subtitles a lot easier to read. But also, in the first few minutes, you think this movie is going to go in an entirely
you don't
different
know exactly
direction.
what you're watching here.
And you don't
be discouraged.
No,
Stick with it.
It's so good. It's, I think, going to be one of my favorite movies of the year.
That's going to be an awards contender all over the place. I think it's just
absolutely. It's so
superb.
good.
It's a superb film in every way, and it's very elaborate.
So many stunts,
and
FX.
Huge cast and extras, and the
Very
main
well
cast
made.
is very big. It's a very well made film.
And as always, it just shows that when we think of each other as groups of generalized people, it's easy to vilify, it's easy to hate, it's easy to start wars. But when people get to know people, we ultimately
story.
find out that we have
We're
so
all
much
the
more
same.
in common, and we all have the same worries and fears and wants and desires. And it's so hard to then hate somebody.
Yes, and not only that, it's better to work together, to be on the same side, to work towards a common goals. It benefits everyone.
Yeah. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. We highly recommend it. It's called Escape from Mogadishu. Right now it's in theaters, but we highly urge you to look for it as it becomes available.
I think it will be.
On
Well,
demand.
it will eventually become available.
Yes,
Maybe on Sundance.
I mean, it might
Who knows
already be out there somewhere. I don't know. I only
They may
saw
have
that it's
changed
coming
their
out.
mind.
I hope so. Look for it. Stay on top of it, and as soon as you can, watch it. And that's our podcast for this week. We are so excited about what we have to tell you about next week. We can't wait.
No, we
But we're not
can't.
going to tell you yet, so you're just going to have to come back next week, okay?
All right.
Thank you
Have
for
a good
joining
week.
us.
Stay safe. Wear masks.
Watch lots of good television.
Watch tons of good television and movies.
Bye.
Bye.